Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, and good morning to the Department of Basic Education, Umalusi representatives, and the Western Cape Provincial Education Department. We are going to commence now with our meeting. Mr. Brown, can you please fly to the agenda in the meantime? I want to take this opportunity to officially welcome you to the Portfolio Committee meeting. And just to say that we did allude to our well wishes to the matriculants who are currently sitting for their examinations. And safe to say that we have been monitoring the situation either through the news and through social media, all sorts of media. And we are actually proud that there has been little incidences that have been reported. Seemingly everything is going according to plan. And we do hope that this class of 2024 will surpass the class of 2023 in terms of performance. We are improving the education system, that is clear. And we are hoping that the results come next year will actually demonstrate that the education, the schooling system is improving for the better. And that with those words, I'm just welcoming you to this committee meeting, which has a brief agenda. we are going to receive a final update on the state of readiness. We received a preliminary update, I think 2 weeks ago. We are going to receive this update on the state of readiness from both Umalusi and the Department of Basic Education. Honorable members, I just wanted in my welcoming address to address an issue of the agenda. One, you would have noticed that in terms of the program we adopted some weeks ago for the third term, we had agreed that this week we will discuss the Bela Bill as announced by the president, as signed and announced by the president, that two clauses of the act were going to be discussed further. And we thought that as a committee, many members of the committee believed that it would be prudent for us to discuss it as a committee, to discuss the two clauses that the president had delayed implementation for. However, we received legal advice from Parliament, legal department, that this matter was discussed at speaker's level at the joint committee, the scheduling committee, and there was an agreement that the matter should be discussed differently by political parties, and the matter is still there. As a result, we were advised that it will actually be very, it will be a complex issue for us to discuss, due to the fact that there is still some engagements that are taking place. But also the legal team advised us that in terms of the law, the president has not referred the act back to Parliament. So it would be something else for Parliament to engage on a matter that they've concluded on, because Parliament's work is done in terms of the act. The Parliament had ascended the act for the president's signature, for the president's consideration and signature. As a result, they believed that it would not be prudent for us to discuss the issue. As a result, we've removed the item from the agenda, and that was legal advice, and we heeded to that advice. Now, we are now going to, so we considered taking one of the provinces after we received an apology from the Western Cape Education Department that on the scheduled date, which was Friday, they will not be available. And we then decided that we will reschedule them to today, and we'll have a discussion with them on the budget cuts and the implications and the declaration of posts, but also we're going to engage with them on our observations of the oversight visit. I thought I should clarify that matter on the agenda. And after welcoming you all, going to the adoption of the agenda, check if these members want to adopt the agenda. Honorable members.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Yes.
I rise to propose for the adoption of the agenda. Member Makakula.
Okay, Member Magagula rises to adopt. Honorable Law.
No. Thank you, Chair. I second the adoption of the agenda.
Okay, the agenda is duly adopted. We've received apologies, Mr. Brown. The apology that I've received is both of Honorable Pinky, Honorable Ngube. She is graduating today, and we congratulate her. And she can't join the meeting because she is graduating. And as we congratulate Honorable Ngube, we also want to congratulate Honorable Christians, who graduated the other week when we were busy with our oversight. Congratulations to both of you. And the other apology is from Honorable Kaba, who has joined the meeting, but she has sent a sick note. She is not well, but she did say that she will just log in into the meeting. With those apologies, are there any other apologies, Mr. Brown? I did see, and I apologize if I did not recognize the presence of the minister, the deputy minister, the DG, because I would have seen the communique on the delegation from DPE that will be attending our meeting today. But if they've logged in, you are welcome, and we've acknowledged, and we're acknowledging you and the CEO of Umalusi and the team. And we will also acknowledge the team and the delegation from the Western Cape, and we will be guided as to who is leading the delegation when they introduce themselves, when they make the presentation. Mr. Brown, are there any other apologies?
Thank you, Chairperson. I do have an apology for Honourable Mtsweni. Honourable Mtsweni has a doctor's appointment, but I did see that she was logged on earlier. She might just join us again a bit later. Thank you, Chair.
That is noted. But we do have a quorum, Mr. Brown.
That's correct, Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay, that's perfect. Honorable members, we are going to go straight into the meeting's agenda. We are going to start with the Department of Basic Education. To both the Department of Basic Education and Umalusi, a request from myself is that we do receive your presentations, and please just really deal with the highlights of your presentation. We've received the presentation, and I believe that members do take note of the presentations. Also, to say to members, the honorable members of the committee, I do hope that you went through the set of minutes that we've sent, but also the 2 reports that are outstanding for approval. So we would need to go through that when we're done with the 3 items. We're going to start with the Department of Basic Education, and then we'll go to Umalusi. I'm strictly going to give each and every one of you 15 minutes to complete your presentations so that we can go into discussions. Oh, the minister is here. Welcome, Minister and DM and your team. You can carry on.
A very good morning. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the committee for this opportunity to address you all this morning. Thank you all.
Honorable Mtsweni, can you please mute?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to address the meeting today. We are using this opportunity that you have given us to indeed brief you and the committee on the state of readiness for the system to roll out the NSC exams, which started yesterday. Firstly, I think, Chair, it's important to just note and to appreciate and to congratulate all 9 provinces for a swift and seamless introduction and rollout of the exams yesterday. Members will be aware that all of our NSC candidates were sitting down yesterday to write their exams. It's an important bellwether day for us, a very important stress testing opportunity for us, because it is the time at which we have all of the candidates writing, whereas, for instance, during other days, it will not be all the learners. And so being able to see the system in action yesterday was an important very much an important step, because it shows that the readiness that we are convinced we have is done. Then, Chair, I just want to quickly explain before Dr. Polya and the team come on that how we assess the readiness of the system, we do it in 2 ways. Number one, we check the readiness of the system to roll out the examinations. So that in that goes from the printing of the papers to the storing of the papers to the transportation of the papers, whether the papers will move from the area of storage to the exam centers on time, and also to make sure that scripts are then taken and those are also secured. It's a very intricate, as members will see in the presentation, it's a very intricate process. It requires us to not only engage with ourselves, but also to engage with Prof Jocks and the NAT Jocks, so the security clusters of each of the provinces and at a national level, because of course we require security services to assist us, particularly in the security aspect of it. Then the other measure that we look at, as I said, there are two parts. The second part that we look at in terms of readiness is the readiness of the learners. And that sits squarely on the branch that deals with the curriculum. Because at a minimum, members, we want learners to have 203 days of learning, teaching and learning. We would want more, but that is the minimum that in the school calendar we set. And ultimately, what we want in those days is we want teachers and learners to be able to cover the curriculum fully by the time that the exams start. And how we also measure along the way and the system whether or not learners are ready. The DG and his team go to the various districts to go and check whether the catch-up programs, whether the incubation camps that provinces have set up are working, whether the learners really have indeed covered the curriculum before they sit for the exams. But also an important aspect of checking on the readiness of the learners is, of course, both the June and the September exams that are written, because then we are able to see where the gaps are. And of course, interventions are made to assist learners to be able to be at the level at which they need. And so prior to yesterday, we were confident that both those systems are in place. And of course, the success of yesterday proves to us that indeed, at least the logistical aspect of the readiness of the exams is covered, and that and we are confident that our learners have indeed covered the curriculum. I also just want to add some of the innovative ways in which the provinces also make sure that their learners are not distracted during this time. A lot of them are putting together what they call incubation camps, where even when learners go and write the exams, they come back and they continue to be in a safe environment where they can learn and they can do their studying and revision and without numerous distractions, and they can leave from there straight to the exam room. And a lot of them have been doing these incubation camps over the past several weeks. But Chair, I must, before I give over to the team, I must just update the portfolio committee, which is something that I will be updating in the House as well later on this afternoon. We obviously had a weather warning for KZN and the Eastern Cape. And yesterday there were massive storms in the Gqeberha area, where the power lines were damaged, and two bridges, I think, were damaged due to the storm. Now, today, most of our learners are writing computer science, which obviously is a power-intensive exam and requires them to be able to have access to power. But because of those power lines that are down, we had to make contingency plans. We usually have the SANDF also on standby in certain situations, whether it is to airlift learners to the exam venues, maybe due to protest action. But a decision was made this time because regardless of the fact that they would have been able to be transported to the schools, but because of the storm damage to the power lines, they will not be able to write the exam in a fair manner today in Gqeberha. This is affecting about 400 learners. But it's not a cause for concern, Chair, because in the system is inbuilt along with Umalusi, contingency plans. And these contingency plans include several papers, backup papers that are prepared and quality checked, so that should there be instances where, for instance, some learners are not able to write either due to inclement weather, like we saw in Babeja, or due to protest action, or whatever the case may be, we've got backup papers. So arrangements will be made. We will keep the portfolio committee updated. Arrangements will be made for those 400 learners to do their rewrite of those alternative papers. As you can see, Chair, of course, within 24 hours, the system has already been tested, and I'm really pleased to say that we have catered for every eventuality, and we are quick to respond to things, even though they are beyond our planning, but we are quick to respond to them as and when is necessary. So I'm going to give over to the team, Chair. I don't know if you want to ask anything in particular at this point, but I'm happy to give over to the team to take the committee through the presentation.
No, it's fine. The team can continue with the presentation.
Thank you. Dr. Paulian? Or
Thank
Dr.
you,
Mthembu?
Honorable Chair and Honorable Minister and Honorable Deputy Minister. Dr. Mthembu will start. Let's start, Dr. Mthembu, and let's see how far we go with the 15 minutes accorded to us. Dr. Mthembu.
Thank you, DG. Let me take this opportunity to greet the Minister, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, the Deputy Minister, all other honorable members of the committee. We are going to present the update on the state of readiness, and thanks for the time given to us, Chair. I will be hitting the punchline as you have directed. In the next slide. We are just giving the purpose. It is the same purpose that we gave last time and the same outline that we gave, that we have two presentations. Next slide. Then we go to the presentation here. Chair, we are just outlining what we presented last time, to say we went intensely into the preparation of learners, but the gap was that we hadn't reached the point of last push or last activities. Next slide. Here, Chair, we are saying here we're going to cover 4 aspects: support for specializations and art subjects, as well as the last push. Next slide. Then if you can go to the next slide. Here we are just outlining what we did for the supporting the dance studies, which is an art subject. And we have listed all what we did, including the practical and theoretical work. In design studies, we also did this, which I think the honorable members have read, but also to say in these subjects, practical work is important. And then if you can slow down a bit, Dr. Paulia, then also we looked at the high-risk learners, as well as those who are actually possibly can give us better results. Next slide. Then music, we used term 1 results to analyze and decide on learners who are a bit weak in these subjects, in this subject. And we also looked at teacher networking, as well as the coverage of topics through more text, more work covering the topics of which were very difficult in the previous exams. Next slide. Then in terms of visual arts, we provided feedback on moderation. We did some training on the content of visual arts, and also looked at the practical assessments. In other words, Chair, we supported these subjects because they are very important in giving us a better pass, because they are passion subjects. They are offered by learners who like them. Therefore, the support that we have given us and the provinces was directed to that. Then we go to the technical subjects. Here in civil technology, we supported construction, civil services, as well as the woodworking. And these are the interventions that we had, but the most important one was the use of TVET colleges to reskill our teachers so that they are up to date with the subject, as well as additional resources provided to schools. The next slide, we're talking about electrical technology, which is electronics, digital studies, as well as power systems. Then here in this one, more we're on simulation software, practical assessment resources, as well as intensifying the monitoring of curriculum coverage. Next slide. Here is automation, fitting and machining, as well as welding and metal working. We supported, and the main thing that I may say here is that we also included the supply of mechanical technology curriculum resource pack to support the delivery of mechanical technology. Next slide. Then here we're saying, Chair, what we did not present last time was Springs classes. They also came in the Springs classes. We were more focused on revision, as well as the preparation for the examination through the previous papers. Next slide. Of course, the DG visited 76 of these centers. Next slide. Then these are the photos which just show DG's role in supporting, and these are the resources which were the main resources in provinces, but there were other resources which also were developed at provincial level. That's wasametry digital resources. Then we looked at term 1, term 2, and term 3 a little bit closer, looking at averages. Now, for instance, in Gauteng, these are the learners who passed all the 6 subjects. In term 1, they were 67.6% in Gauteng. In term 2, they were 56.1%. In term 3, they are 74.8%. And you can see that the blue graphs are moving up higher, showing that in term 3, the percentage of learners who passed all subjects was higher. Next slide. These are the learners who missed just one subject. In term 1, they were 14%. In Gauteng, 14%, 14.7% in term 2, but in term 3, they dropped down to 12.7%. Now, what does that mean? It means that if they missed one subject, then the teachers are aware of that, and they were able, with the last push and with the revision program, these are the learners who are focused on as well. Next slide. These are the learners who missed more than 2 subjects. And you can see that the percentage was very high in term 1 and term 2, but in term 3, it went lower, which is a blue graph. Next slide. Now, we took those who missed one subject and those who passed all subjects, and we said those are the learners who are not at risk. And then the focus will be different from those who missed more than 2 subjects. And you can see that in term 1 in Gauteng, for instance, it was 79.6% learners not at risk. In term 2, 68.1%, and in term 3, 86.8% learners who are not at risk. But it doesn't mean that they are not supported. They are supported. Now, if you look at the blue bar, it is very high in all provinces, which means that the term 3 results are actually promising us better results. Next slide. Then the last push, I must say one thing, that in the last push, there are so many things happening in provinces, as the Honorable Minister has said, but there are prescribed issues which we said all provinces must be able to do this. The first one is that they must work with these learners until the last day before the exam. Nobody goes home and say, I'm writing exams now, I don't go to school. They all must be closer to their teachers as possible until the last day of each paper. Next slide. Then this is the support of the last push by the DG. He also visited 91 centers. Next slide. Then these are the photos. Next slide. Then the other thing which we said to all provinces, take the Director General's examination skills module so that these learners can be prepared in everything. They do have that module, all of them, and that tells them how to answer many questions. But because the majority was going to write exams for the first time, public exams for the first time, this module also tells them what to do when they get into the examination room for the first time. That is to deal with the exam fever. Next slide. We also said the provision of extra resources is important, and we encourage provinces to do what is called cross-border question share, where they take their test and share them with the other provinces. And then also to use things like WhatsApp and so on. Next slide. Well, this examination, NSC since 2014, CAPS, has more than 19 revision papers. We said they must choose from those papers, but we have guided them that at least if they start from the most recent one and move up using the principle of recency. Next slide. Then we also said, well, of course, we're still talking about the previous exam papers, which I've said. Next slide. Then also we said there should be question grouping for weaker learners, knowledge questions, comprehension questions, application questions, analysis questions. Then you give them a full paper so that they move from the simple to the complex because they are struggling. Next slide. No child left behind must be applied in this exam in the last push. We have actually instructed that so that those learners who are struggling, the teachers must actually give them small pieces of questions so that they do them at home and so that they can be followed in terms of their progress. Next slide. Broadcast lessons, there are revision programs, lessons in broadcast, and all provinces are doing that at different scales. Community radios and other radios, we appreciate their service in this regard. Next slide. The role of parents, we said to all provinces, please work with governing bodies to get the parents to assist learners with a conducive studying environment at home and many other things. But most important, they must reduce the number of house chores for learners so that if somebody has been doing so many things at home ordinarily during exams, they must reduce that or just take it to the minimum. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Dr. Paula will take us to the next part.
Thank you, Dr. Ntembu. Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning to the Honorable Minister, Honorable DM. Greetings to all members of the Portfolio Committee. Let me also greet the Chair of the Umalusi Council, our DG, who's present, the CEO of Umalusi, and all officials present. Our Minister has provided a great overview of the positive start to the examination, and they say that all that begins well also ends well, and we will be holding on to that hope. We are on day 2, and the examination has started and is in progress for an hour now. And just some interesting information that these learners writing the examination would have spent an estimated 2,500 days of teaching and learning throughout their 13 years. If you translate that into hours, that's approximately 16,800 hours. I think we're all aware of the days on which the exams are being written. The total number of question papers that will be written by our learners are 200, comprising of the 162 that have been set by the DBE and another 38 papers for our special subjects and non-official languages, which we've outsourced from the IEB. In total, 6,909 examination centers, which comprises of both public and independent schools, as well as what we refer to as designated centers. And designated centers are for learners that are part-time, that are not attached to a school, or for independent schools where we had to take over the examination simply because those schools are not accredited. A total estimate of 69,000 invigilators. And invigilators are educators that supervise and manage the examination. We've also looked at the total number of officials involved in the examination, from setting to delivery to processing, and we have an estimated 3,540 individuals. The total number, 882,000 candidates writing the exam, and we did present the details in our last meeting, so I'm not going to spend time on that. I'm also going to very quickly, Honorable Chair, provide a summary of the state of readiness in terms of the update, what has changed since the last report that was presented. All 162 papers plus the 38 papers have now been approved by Umalusi, and they currently with the printing plants across the country. All quality assurance processes, we even added additional layers of quality assurance to deal with some of the problems that occurred in previous years. Question papers have been adapted for all learners with special needs. All exam centers have been audited. And I think this is a critical point, Honorable Chair, that an exam center must demonstrate that they're able to write an exam. And barring that, we classify them into high, medium, and low risk. And our high risk centers are those that have had irregularities previously, those that are offering the matric exam for the first year. And if a center is regarded as high risk, we place what we refer to as a resident monitor, who will be there throughout the examination center. In terms of registration, all candidates have been accurately registered. The DBE has conducted an audit of each of the provincial databases. I spoke about concessions and accommodations for learners with special needs, so that our special needs learners are provided with the most conducive environment to write the examination. We've also conducted an audit of the entire value chain where question papers are printed, packed, and stored. Monitors have been deployed. Invigilators have been trained. DBE will also be out in the field as we talk. DBE monitors are out, and we are there to ensure that the that the PED monitoring plans are in fact working. With regard to marking, which is possibly the most important process, we have the right markers that have been appointed based on clear policy. DBE as well as Umalusi has conducted an audit of markers that are appointed. Marking centers have all been audited as well, and it's all systems go. We have what is referred to as marking guideline discussions, very important meeting where the marking guideline gets discussed. At that meeting, our internal moderators and chief markers are trained. They get authorized before they are sent out to the marking centers to actually carry out the marking. And very important, Honorable Chair, is this integrated examination computer system, which takes responsibility for the examination process from registration to release of results and certification. We're currently busy with the dry run, and this is done under the oversight of Umalusi to make sure that even though the system was used last year, we do another full dry run to make sure that nothing goes wrong in this exam. What we've done, Honorable Chair, in the last week is to provide our heads of exams in the provincial department as well as our heads of exams at district level with what we're calling the final checklist and some very important reminders. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but just touch on some very salient checkpoints. For example, a reminder that our school principals should not delegate their responsibilities to other members of the SMT. The principal is the accounting officer. He must be there to open the question papers, to distribute the question papers, to make sure that the examinations are proceeding as per plan. We've had previously issues where some learners were disallowed from writing the examination because of unpaid school fees or some disciplinary issue. Again, a warning is sent out that every learner must be allowed to write the examination. Our storage point, I think here we are just double checking, triple checking that what is prescribed in our protocol is being implemented. And very important, we've reminded our heads about the adherence to norm time. Norm times in terms of the time that question papers are allowed to be picked up in the morning from the distribution point. Question papers should not be out too early, simply because that gives time and space for any kind of tampering. We also have norm times at an exam venue, because that also creates opportunity for tampering. Our monitoring is something we're really placing a lot of focus on. We're reminding our heads about resident monitors. We have a minimum threshold of 70% of exam centers must be monitored with every session. And this will ensure that we have some guarantee that our rules and regulations are being followed. What is also important, we reminded our heads that monitoring doesn't start at the exam room. Monitoring must start in the morning from the point at which question papers are collected, and it must end with the return of scripts to the distribution point. We are currently finalizing the capture of SBA marks, and here again we've reminded our heads of certain important rules. For example, if a learner misses a task and has a valid reason, he must be given another opportunity. But if a learner misses an SBA task without a valid reason, then he gets a 0. In addition, every mark sheet must be checked, moderated before that mark sheet gets captured. In the case of exam irregularities, we reminded our heads about advocacy relating to honesty and integrity, informing candidates about our hotline, which runs 24/7, so they can report any matter that they are concerned about. And then finally, Chair, in the last 2 or 3 minutes, Umalusi raised some very important issues at the media briefing. And we thought that as a department, we should respond to these issues to confirm that they have been attended. And the one very important issue is the shortage of permanent staff across our provincial departments. This is a problem. The DBE has conducted an audit of all our staff vacancies, but I must say that our heads of department have done the best under the severe fiscal constraint to make critical appointments where possible. So there is movement, but not fast enough. But to deal with the current examination, we have staff that to fill up vacancies that may exist either at district or at provincial level with regard to exam. And this is not just done on an ad hoc basis, but it's done based on an official letter of appointment, clearly outlining what the responsibilities are of this individual that is now moved into this unit. Umalusi also indicated that there were a few storage points that are conditionally approved. We have mandatory criteria and we have additional criteria. So they would have been conditionally approved if some of the additional criteria or secondary criteria were not in place at that time. But what we have done with the provincial departments is putting contingencies in place to accommodate some of the secondary criteria. And therefore we can state that all our storage points are in fact foolproof, well secured, and we're not expecting any problems. Shortage of markers. We do have a shortage of markers, but they are in possibly 3 subjects in the main. English home language, Afrikaans home language and FAL, and history. In the case of the languages, because we have 3 papers, and because during our marking session, we divide marking of each of these papers into separate groups. So you need 3 times the number of markers than the number of teachers that you have at school. So as a result, to accommodate the larger number of markers required for the languages, we have staggered marking. For example, English, home language paper 3, will be marked ahead of the normal marking session, so that markers that mark paper 3 will then be deployed during the normal marking session to mark paper 1 and paper 2. The other option that we will be looking at, which we are planning with our provinces, is to extend the number of marking days. For example, if the marking of that particular paper would have taken 7 days, we increase the time to 8 days or 9 days. But I must also indicate that our provinces have picked up these shortages while they were appointed. And therefore, a number of them have gone on a second recruitment drive and others have gone on a third recruitment drive to encourage markers. Markers, for various reasons, seem to be shying away from marking. And we had to give them that initial jolt and encouragement and get them in. So I can assure the members of the portfolio committee that the shortage of markers is certainly an issue that is being attended to appropriately. In the media, there was an incorrect reference to shortage of invigilators. Our assumption is Umalusi referred to a shortage of markers, and the media confused shortage of markers with shortage of invigilators. I can assure portfolio committee, the chair and members, that we have ample, sufficient invigilators across the country. And Honorable Chair, just to conclude, just to give you a snapshot of what has happened on day one, 6 question papers were written on day 1, that's yesterday. Today, we have 15 papers being written, one of them being computer application technology, and the other are your small, non-official languages. And on day 3, which is tomorrow, the business studies, which is one of our big subjects, and information technology will be written in the afternoon. We collect reports on a daily basis. The only major issue yesterday was protest action by taxi drivers in the Yan Kempdorp area. 5 routes were blockaded, which then affected access to 5 high. Support from our police services. All learners were taken to their school, and all 297 learners were able to write. And therefore, we can say that there was no problem with the writing of the examination in the Northern Cape and across the country as a whole. We had 11 incidents, or 11 candidates taken ill. Some of them were admitted to hospital, others were allowed to write. And that's the numbers per province: Gauteng 3, Mpumalanga 6, Northwest 2. A few of them were involved. There were 2 accidents at least, and others were girls who were pregnant and had to deliver in hospital, and others had different type of illnesses. And this is how the system works, is that we are able to accommodate you, create exam conditions in a hospital, and get learners to write. So in conclusion, Honorable Chair, through the last push activities, together with the continuous monitoring, support, evaluation of the national examination system, we are confident that the 2024 examination will be administered with the highest credibility. But nothing of this nature comes without the collective, collaborative, and joint effort of all officials, educators, our critical partners, parents, and also members of the portfolio committee who are constantly holding us to account. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister and Honorable Chair, we are done. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Polia and Dr. Tembu.
Thank you very much, DG, and the Minister and the team. Of course, you did not adhere to the 15 minutes, but we forgive you. And Umalusi, the CEO, are you ready?
It will be my chairperson first, Honorable Chairperson, Professor Balini.
Oh, Chairperson Professor Balini, you can continue. strictly 15 minutes. So we hope you adhere to it, unlike DPE.
We'll try to be diligent here, and thank you very much. And I will be brief. The members of the Portfolio Committee. Greetings also to the Minister who's in the meeting, Megwarove, and Dr. Mahole, the Deputy Minister, the DG Mweli and his team from the DVE, and really thank you for that comprehensive report. Chair, I think you'll agree it was difficult to keep that to 15 minutes, but thank you. Chair, I'm Yunus Balam. I'm Chair of Council of Umalusi, and I'm joined in this meeting by Dr. Mafura Kumetsi, who is the CEO of Umalusi, Dr. Eva Suji, who is the Executive Manager for Quality Assurance and Monitoring, Dr. Agnes Mohale, who is the Acting Executive Manager for Qualifications and Research, Ms. Mary Madia, who is the Senior Manager for Quality Assurance of Assessment, Mr. Biki Liporta, who is the Senior Manager for Public Relations and Communications, and Mr. Andy Tulu, who is the Manager for Quality Assurance of Assessment, Monitoring and Evaluations. Chair, as the DB has emphasized, we enter these exams every year with a little bit of trepidation, despite the repeated iterations of preparation. Checking, rechecking, double checking, second eyes, etc. One always enters this phase with the sense that there's something we may have missed. And so it is necessary, and we think this is an important presentation to the Portfolio Committee. And with that, I'm going to hand over to the Umalusi team. I think it will be Dr. Rakometsi who will take us from here. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Professor Balim, and thank you very much also to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Basic Education. Greetings to the Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, DG of the Department of Basic Education, and also Professor Balim, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. I'm going to take about 3 minutes so that I give the rest of the time to Mary Madia. She's loading the slides, and they are wrongly loaded because they're supposed to be on her side, not on our side, but she's trying to correct that. And then I'm going to go immediately to the presentation outline, which I'm not going to read because the members have that. But briefly on the background, Umalusi is mandated to monitor and verify the state of readiness of the public and private assessment bodies to conduct, administer, and manage national examinations. That is the mandate under background. And then we use the risk management independently and objectively identifies potential risks that could compromise the credibility and integrity of examinations. For the 2024 State of Readiness, all the assessment bodies have submitted their self-evaluation reports, and Umalusi analyzed them and evaluated them through a desktop review and the review of supporting evidence. We have provided feedback to all the assessment bodies. So moving to the next slide, which is slide number 4, I'm just referring to the legislation, and I'm going to be brief even there. Going to Roman figure 2, that we have to ensure the integrity and credibility of quality assurance. And that is exactly what we are doing with the state of readiness. And Roman figure 3, we have to ensure that such quality assurance as is necessary for the sub-framework is undertaken. And I immediately move to slide number 5 in the interest of time. And there I'm going to focus on 5.1.5, Roman figure 1. We have to ensure that exams have been conducted free from any irregularity that may jeopardize the integrity of the assessment or its outcomes, and that the assessment bodies have complied with the requirement prescribed by the Council for conducting assessments and complied, Roman figure 4, with every other condition determined by Council. Moving to the 6th slide, Chairperson, This is our quality assurance of assessment framework. And it lists a number of things that we need to do, which I'm not going to read to the members unless the members would be interested at the point of asking questions as to what we mean with each bullet. But I want to emphasize just one, that at the end of it all, Umalusi Council is going to approve the publication of the results of learners if the council is satisfied that the assessment body has conducted the assessment free from any irregularity that may jeopardize the integrity of the assessment. And that pronouncement is going to be made in January of 2025. With that said, Chair, I'm going to hand over to Mary Madia, who is the Senior Manager for Quality Assurance of Assessment for Schools. Mary, over to you. Unmute.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, CEO. And let me greet Honorable Minister and her Deputy, the DG, Umalusi Chairperson of Council, and the CEO, members of the Portfolio Committee, DBE and Umalusi officials present, all protocol observed. I'm going to run through the slides because I take them as read. Status on key examination processes. The first process is question papers, approval of question papers. I can confirm that all question papers that are going to be written in this examination, they have been externally moderated by Umalusi. They have been approved, and we approve 2 sets of question papers. Therefore, there will be a backup paper in cases of eventualities like the one that was mentioned by the minister earlier. And then timetables for the November examination, they are ready. The final registration data and related information have been received from the 3 assessment bodies. Printing of examination material, including question papers, is currently taking place in accordance with the printing management plans of the assessment bodies. Audit of examination centers and storage points for examination materials, including scripts, after the writing have been completed. Examination centers have been profiled, as Dr. Polia indicated, and this is across the 3 assessment bodies according to the high, the medium, and the low levels. Systems for invigilation and monitoring of examination administration are in place, with final training sessions concluded before the commencement of the writing. The recruitment, selection, and appointment of markers have been managed effectively, adhering to predetermined criteria. Marking schedules, all plans, and quality assurance processes across the 3 assessment bodies have been established, with marking set to commence in a staggered approach as planned by the assessment bodies. And the life orientation common assessment task examination was successfully administered. This one actually kicked off this examination, the November examination. I'm going to take you through the 8 critical focus areas that reflect how prepared the DBE, the IEB, and Sakai are to deliver a credible 2024 November examination for the NSC. To save time, I'm going to go straight to the overall evaluation. Here, Umalusi is satisfied that the 3 assessment bodies have implemented measures in terms of the resources, management of the resources, to ensure adequate resources are in place for managing the examinations. However, as indicated earlier, the DBE continues to face challenges related to staff shortages, while contingency plans are in place for the upcoming exams. Umalusi urges the department to work towards a sustainable solution to address this issue for future examination cycles, ensuring long-term stability in exam administration. In terms of registration of candidates for this examination, for the DBE, the numbers were provided. For the IEB, we have 16,321. For Sakai, we have 5,789. And Umalusi is satisfied that the 3 assessment bodies have systems in place for the registration of candidates for this examination. And we urge the DBE to intensify awareness campaigns on examination accommodations and concessions. This is to ensure that no candidate is disadvantaged due to learning barriers, and that all learners are provided with equal opportunities in accordance with the provisions of the screening, identification, assessment, and support policy. In terms of where these learners are going to write, for the DBE, 6,909 examination centers have been established. For the IEB, 256, and Sakai established 84 centers. And all across all the assessment bodies, the audit has been conducted and the systems are ready. Examination centers have been classified as indicated according to those 3 levels. Umalusi is assured regarding the risk profiling of examination centers by the assessment bodies and the systems put in place to address the risks. In terms of internal assessment, plans are in place for the 3 assessment bodies for managing the SBA, the PET, and the oral assessments. Overall, Umalusi is assured that the assessment bodies have implemented adequate management plans for moderation, including the appointment of subject specialists and the execution of internal moderation processes. Umalusi requirements for internal assessment have been complied with. In terms of printing, packaging, storage, and distribution across the 3 assessment bodies, the service level agreements for printing examination materials have been established and signed. Management plans are currently being implemented. A risk assessment for printing, packaging, storage, and distribution has been conducted by assessment bodies, and appropriate mitigating strategies are in place. Storage locations have undergone audits, and norms and standards for the security of examination materials are established and strictly enforced. I'm not going to labor on this one. Dr. Polia touched on this one because there were centers that were partially approved by the DBE. So the DBE has measures in place to mitigate this risk by ensuring that the affected provinces seek a concession from the HOD. Overall, Umalusi is satisfied with the continuous enhancement of security measures, particularly the expedited vetting of individuals involved in handling live question papers. To mitigate the identified risk regarding the partially approved storage points with specific reference to the DBE, they have requested concession from the HOD. So all security protocols concerning the printing of examination materials are considered classified and treated with strict confidentiality. In terms of conduct of examinations, policies and guidelines for the conduct of examinations, including the SOPs, they are ready, they are established across the 3 assessment bodies. They have appointed and trained the invigilators and the chief invigilators. Overall, the monitoring coverage has been established by the respective assessment bodies and plans developed to ensure the integrity of the writing process during the administration of the examinations. Umalusi will monitor the implementation of the monitoring plans and report on its findings. In terms of marker selection and appointments of marking personnel across the 3 assessment bodies, markers have been selected. They are using different approaches. For the DBE, they are carried out in accordance with the PEM requirements. IEB and Sakai have got their policies for the recruitment, selection, and appointment of markers. And for the 2 private assessment bodies, no shortages were reported. However, for the DBE, there were shortages reported as indicated by Dr. Polia. I'm not going to go into that one. And then overall, Umalusi has concluded the audit of the appointed markers to verify that their appointments align with established criteria, with the exception of 4 provinces, the Northwest, Limpopo, Free State, and Northern Cape, which will be finalized by the 30th of October 2024. During the verification of mark scripts, Umalusi will track how the provinces are managing the marking process in subjects where marker shortages were identified as a risk. Additionally, Umalusi will closely monitor the implementation of the staggered marking approach to ensure the credibility of the examinations. Instead, in terms of systems for mark capturing, the 3 assessment bodies have demonstrated full compliance with Umalusi's requirements during the recent examination cycle. This adherence serves as a clear indication of their alignment with Umalusi's standards. These same standards will serve as the benchmark for the November 2024 mark capturing system and for the submission of marks for standardization. In preparation for this examination, standardization of results, Umalusi is conducting dry run quality assurance exercises. These exercises will test the readiness of the mark capturing systems, ensuring they are fully prepared for the upcoming standardization process. In terms of management of examination irregularities, the structures for addressing and managing examination irregularities are established with their functionality monitored by the assessment bodies. Umalusi found the strategies determined to combat irregularities implementable and acceptable. Thank you, Chair. I'll hand over to the CEO.
Thank you very much, Mary. I'm going to, in 1 minute, conclude, Chairperson, and indicate that we have concluded the audit of the state of readiness as Umalusi for both public and private assessment bodies, and that we are confident that they are ready to conduct, administer, and manage the November. That all the assessment bodies will safeguard the credibility and integrity of these examinations. And with the examinations having commenced yesterday, we wish the class of 2024 everything of the best as they sit for these important examinations. I thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Umalusi. Honorable members, I am going to allow that we engage with the presentation from Umalusi, and from there we will then take the last presentation from the Western Cape PED. I tried to check on my side. I'm trying to check hands. Alert me if I have not noted your hand. There is Honorable Christians. I can see your hand. Any other hand? Okay, that's the only hand we have. Honorable Christians. Oh, there is Honorable, so it's Honorable Christians, Honorable Shongwe, Honorable Yordan, and it will be Honorable Law. Okay, in that order.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I would just like to begin by extending my best wishes as well to all the matric learners who have embarked on their final examinations. It's an important moment in their academic journey, and I have every confidence in their abilities to succeed. I also want to then commend Umalusi and the Department of Basic Education and all the other entities for their preparations, as well as their commitment to ensuring a smooth and secure examination process. To the DBE, I noted that they had spoken about the impact of staff shortages, which was addressed to some extent. So the only thing I still want to know is how is the DBE then managing these shortages, particularly in critical roles like marking that has been mentioned, so as to ensure the smooth administration of exams. And then post-examination, what are the next steps after the examinations have concluded, particularly regarding the marking process and also the release of the results? That is to ensure transparency as well as accuracy. And then to Umalusi, the registration of candidates and examination centers is obviously a critical step in the examination process. And Umalusi has confirmed that the registration data for the NSC class of 2024 has been finalized. Now, how does Umalusi ensure that all candidates, including those with special needs or immigrant status, are provided with the necessary accommodations and concessions to ensure a fair examination process? And then lastly to Umalusi, so Umalusi has implemented comprehensive measures to address potential risks and also to ensure integrity of the examination process. This includes the profiling of examination centers based on risk levels and the implementation of monitoring systems for high-risk centers. So how does Umalusi's risk management process and the profiling of these examination centers contribute to a secure and orderly examination environment since the examinations have started yesterday. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Christians and Honorable Shongwe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to all members of entities and honorables as well. Firstly, I would like to thank the presentations. Now, I have a question here that can the department provide contingency plan it has in place to mitigate the staff shortages as stated in the Umalusi report? How is it possible that the shortage of staff yet, sorry, how is it possible that there's a shortage of staff yet there is number of unemployed qualified educators and professionals in the provinces? And I would also like to know, can the department provide programs that can enhance volunteering and part-time employment so that the risk can at least be mitigated utilizing human resource pool present in our country? I think my question is that on the Umalusi. And my second question is, did the department provide enough support in intervention to equip teachers and learners to be ready for the mid-year exams? And what interventions were present if there were? This is because we can see a shortfall in the term 2 results across all provinces for past subjects, with other provinces having rates below 50%. This analyzes the preparedness for term 2 assignments. So what I want to know is was not at, sorry, in the term 2 assignment, I want to know was it not an adequate state and understanding that the mission is to equip the stakeholders for the final exam, keeping a consistent success rate throughout the year provides a layer of foundation for high morale, which results to a higher chance of success rate in the final exams. I would like to ask that, my chair. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Honorable Shongwe. Honorable Yordan.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think Honorable Dr. Christians had actually covered me very well. We need to also give credit where it's due, and I'd like to commend the department and the Minister for the proactive steps that seem to have been taken when it comes to staff shortages, which was also my concern, as well as disaster management, which is something that we don't always put a lot of thought into. Chairperson, my only question to the department is in terms of the awareness that Umalusi had mentioned is necessary. What are the steps that the departments are planning to take when it comes to raising awareness that would prevent infringement on the rights of any learner to be able to write their exams smoothly? That's all from my side. Thank you, Chair.
No.
Thank you, Honorable Christians. Honorable Yordan. Thank you, Honorable Yordan. Honorable Law.
Thanks, Chair. Let me welcome the presentation by the Department of Education and Umalusi. And let me also acknowledge the fact that the department has clarified some of the issues that were raised by Umalusi during the press conference. It says that there is indeed integration and complementarity that we are starting to see from the side of what we have received. And I think the department has presented us with a well-equipped report that is comprehensive. That is a continuous report that we've been receiving from the previous portfolio committees in the state of readiness of the matric results. And I'm quite content they could even detect one of the key problems that could have been caused by issues of service delivery in municipalities. I think we need to look onto the aspects of how do we intensify engagements with municipalities to try to meet us halfway at the center of the department, because we can't compromise education as we derive our mandate as the Millennium number 4 in terms of the National Development Plan. I think, Chair, I've went through the department, and I think my questions will be based on the fact that, yes, we take the acknowledgement that KZN becomes the highest province and then followed by Gauteng, and followed by Western Cape. I'm quite concerned on the decline with regard to learners enrollment. And then where are the missing learners? Is it because others have dropped out? Is it because socioeconomic issues? Have the department and Umalusi have tried to trace and make a follow-up on such? And then the other one is that could it be that most of the school are beginning to fail more learners in grade 11? Are we encountering such problems in such a way that we would want to know? So the other thing is that, Chair, I would want to know in case of backup, because we might have defeated load shedding, but there are low reductions where the municipalities effect low reductions in places. I would want to know, has the department engaged with the municipalities in areas that might be affected? Are there schedules that have been provided? If so, are there any generators for backup in backup centers of your examination centers? In any other, if any other emergencies can occur in our examination centers, do we have backup of generators? If we arrange adequately with municipalities in areas where our schools are writing exams to stakeholder engagement? And then the other thing is that for those who are doing a subject like physical science practical, have the department ensured that there's adequate access to resources, facilities, more so at the motive forces where they are centered at, the marginalized forces where we are speaking of the rural areas, the areas that do not get adequate access and or more coverage of those that could have been advantageous who have access to that. And then I would want to check also what specific measures have been taken to ensure equitable exams conditions in rural and township schools compared to urban schools. If you close the gap in between the urban and rural areas in how we adequately provide support services and how we could have reported how things are going and are running smoothly. If we close the gap and balance that particular gap and make sure that those who are marginalized get more adequate resources, that seeks to make sure that it does not affect any of their performances. For example, for those that are in rural areas, would need to have your social workers, your emergency services, your nearby clinics that can respond to such emergencies where you have reported where learners were pregnant, others had to be taken to hospitals. So if we made provisions for such. And then for Umalusi, Umalusi, yeah, your questions will be to say, how on your side, how do you ensure that rural and underserved schools have adequate resources compared to the fact that the department will answer, so that we can see is the integration in terms of that? And then my other question to you is that how will Umalusi ensure that the marking process is fair, efficient, and transparent? And then I'm saying this because in most instances, we would have cases that are rules to say these are the issues that we're encountering. How sure you are that you are ready, and what measures have you put in place? And then what is important also is that how is Umalusi collaborating with law enforcement and stakeholders to ensure that the integrity of the exam and process is not going to be compromised? And how often do you engage? Do you meet oftenly at night? Do you meet in the morning to get briefing and then to see and analyze the cluster so that we are able to know that our papers are in safe hands? So it's safe to say, Chair, we welcome the presentations, and we hope that as we move forward, we would not encounter more problems, and we hope that the department and Umalusi will work together in making sure that we touch the marginalized areas and we continue to integrate. In the future, we would need to look onto by making sure that all learners are equal in terms of how we preserve them equal is when they are receiving equal access to education, equal access to your question papers that should be translated into all languages of South Africa, as would have been adequate language proficiency that seeks to cover all learners so that they're able to be advantageous in what they're getting. Thanks, you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable. I am greatly... It's Honorable Mashabela. Oh, I did not see your hand. Okay, Honorable Mashabela.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, we would like to wish all the grade 12 learners all the best in their examinations. So when they started their school journey in 2013, there were over 1.2 million of them registered for grade R in the country. Today, as they enter their last lap of their schooling life, only over 700,000 of them have registered for their matric examination. Almost 500,000 of their compatriots have fallen by their wayside. And the department cannot tell us what happened to these kids and why are they not sitting for this final examination today. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mashabela. I am greatly covered by the questions from honorable members. It's safe to say I wanted to just get more clarity, and I think I agree with Honorable Low. If the department can speak to us about any incidences of young matriculants, girls who are currently pregnant, and if the schools have made provisions to ensure that they also get equal opportunity to write. And we have discussed this, I think, in the previous meetings where we're speaking about some of the practices by the schools where they will insist that the learner comes with a parent. And some of them don't have parents, but also some don't stay with their parents, and some are child-headed households. And as a result, those girl children will be forced to drop out because they don't have a parent to come to school with them. So we want to check if we have dealt with that practice so that there is no girl child who's in matric and who does not have the opportunity to write examinations because they are pregnant. And that is what I wanted to check in terms of your checklist, if we've dealt with that part. I also wanted to check with the department on the feeding scheme program, understanding that when we speak about the feeding scheme program, we also highlight that there are other learners who really depend on the meal that is provided at school. So want to check with the department and the school, they are planning to ensure that the matriculants all still receive the feeding scheme, still receive food at school, despite the fact that they will arrive at school at a certain time and they write for a certain time. We still want to understand if there is that consistency in provision of food in school so that it is not discontinued in other schools, and that will really disadvantage those who really depend on those meals, because we want them to be healthy so that they can focus on the studying and they can focus on the current task. From Umalusi, one just wants to understand, in the previous years, we've had issues with certain schools or learners speaking about delays in printing of statements. We want to check if we have dealt with these aspects as well in our presentation, in our preparations. I know we've spoken about marking. I know you've spoken about the contingency measures put in place to deal with the issue of shortages of markers for certain subjects. But we also want to know that we have covered the issue of a printing of statements, of matric statements in time, so that the learners can receive their statements and they can proceed to tertiary institutions. And the last one is, I know this is not something that we should be planning for. One just wants to understand if part of the 700 includes a cohort that is doing a second chance program, and if it does, the second chance matric program, if it does, speak to us about those learners and the preparations and the support that we've given to those learners. Those are my only questions. And I think we should say as a portfolio committee that it's quite unfortunate, the reports on Gqeberha, on the power disruptions and the 400 learners who are unable to write. But we appreciate the fact that there is contingency measures in place. And we just want to, because of course we've received weather warnings for also KZN and I think it's the Western Cape, and we want to know how the department is prepared for those we're not sure if there would be any disruptions, but in such an eventuality, are we prepared? Are we in touch with these two provinces on their state of preparedness to deal proactively with any disruption? Thank you very much. DBE, you will start and then you'll be followed by Umalusi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm going to answer a couple of the questions and then I'm going to give over to the DG and the team. The first question around, I think it also relates to your last question around preparedness for disasters in effect. The DG and his team are in constant contact with the departments. That is how we were on high alert for KwaZulu-Natal for inclement weather yesterday. Luckily, that did not happen. Even in the Eastern Cape, the DG, in fact, alerted me to this early this morning, and they are dealing with it to make sure that those learners are not in any way disadvantaged. And I just want to agree with Honorable Lowe in his assessment around the fact that in some instances, we really need the assistance of local municipalities, because we can do everything we can, but to also make sure that there's limited disruptions for these exams, we also need local municipalities to assist us in terms of ensuring that there's water in schools and that, bills are paid so that there is no power outages. On our side, we make sure that we've got contingency plans in place, but of course, it would be really helpful if this is a whole government effort. Then there was a question, Chair, about learners with special needs and how they've been catered for. They've been catered for quite well. We've got exam papers that are designed in Braille for those learners who are blind. We've also got papers that have been set through technology for those learners who would need to make verbal inputs into the system. And so all of those things have been taken care of. And so no learner with special learning the needs will be left behind because of that. We've made sure that there are various exams that are set specifically for our learners who have special needs. And then the other question that was asked, and I think it came through various other members, is the law enforcement involvement. As I indicated, in each province, we are in touch with the Prov Jocks, and the Nat Jocks are also on high alert for all that we need for security measures. We also have the assistance of the SANDF where it is necessary. So on our side, really, we've activated all of the channels, and the DG sits on those daily briefings so that we can know what, obviously, with also for intelligence services, we can know if, for instance, there will be protest action and make contingency plans. Then I want to also deal with the issue around the throughput rate, which I think it was Honorable Mashabela who asked. Firstly, I think it's important, Chair, to understand that in any system, regardless of where you are in the world, you are never going to have 100% throughput rate, simply because there are a number of things that happen to learners from the time they start grade 1 all the way to grade 12. It does not mean because there were 1.2 million grade 1s and now we have over 800,000 candidates writing exams, we've lost 200,000 people. One, there's the unfortunate incidents of death. There's also incidents where learners leave school in grade 9 to go and pursue other avenues in private colleges. There's various other exit points within the system that allow learners to actually maybe go to a TVET, to go acquire skills, for instance, and not continue to ride through to the NSC level. And I think it's important for us to allow children to be able to explore various ways of getting an education. And not every single learner wants to get through to at NSC level and go to university. A lot of them want to acquire skills. They want to be able to go to schools or skills, and those things are catered for. And I think when we talk about the throughput, that's what we should also keep in mind, that there are many various ways and natural attrition that happens in the 12 years of those learners. However, I take the point that it's absolutely critical, and the department and I have been at pains to talk about how absolutely critical it is to trace learners, so that we can tell you specifically to say, here's a number of 100,000 learners have left to go to TVET. 50 learners, this is what's happened to them. So that's what we are working towards, to be able to tell members exactly the numbers of where those learners are. But I think it's important to note that a 100% throughput is impossible, because of course a decade and 2 years is a long time, and a lot happens in that time. And then the question, the chair also asked the issue around the NSNP that continues, the school nutrition program, chair, that continues uninterrupted. You also asked the issue around the second chance program. That's why we, in the figures, we say that there's over 700,000 learners who are writing full-time candidates, and that in total there's over 800,000, also, which includes the part-time learners. So we are including, so the figure, the 800,000 plus, is inclusive of those who are part-time learners. So that would include those learners who are part of the second chance program. So I might leave it there. DG, if there's anything I've left out, Dr. Polia and Dr. Mtembu, if there's anything I've left out, please do come in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I'm not sure whether DM would want to come in before we come in. Or should we proceed? Yeah. DM? DM, are you coming in? Minister, I don't know what happened to DM.
Just hold on, DG. So I wasn't aware that
She's been in the meeting.
Okay. Sorry, Chair. If the DM could come in here, if possible. DM, can you hear us?
Or maybe we could proceed. She could come in at the end before the minister rounds off.
No,
I think
she's
in. She's
Yeah.
in. She's in.
I don't know
All
what
right.
happened. Pick me out. I just show my face.
Thanks, DM.
She's taking a dive again, Minister.
Okay. Let's answer the other questions, and then DM can come in, Chair.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening, Tichi. I'm sorry. Let me just come before you deal with the specific questions. Minister has almost covered everything, but in the support, I think the presentation itself indicated that there's a differentiated approach in terms of supporting the learners. It starts at a school level, at a second district, province, and nationally, wherein we look at, because the potential and capacity of learners is not the same. That's why the approach in supporting is differentiated. Even the camps, they don't serve a one size fits all. We look at which subjects are not doing well, which area, which topic, and which learners. That's why the support is looking at the learners as such. On the managing the shortage of teachers, although Dr. Pola and the teaching might cover that one, but the indication, Chair, is that this shortage, which Umalusi identified, it's as a result, it emanates from the languages. We find that we have one teacher that is teaching English generally, but when coming to the examination, English, we have 3 papers, but the teacher that is teaching English is one teacher at grade 12 in one school. But when is the paper now to be written is 3 papers. There's paper 1, there's paper 2, there's paper 3. So, which means by right now you must have 3 teachers marking paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3. Yet in practicality, you have 1 teacher. So provinces have come up with a strategy to cap that paper 1 will be marked, because we started with paper 1, will be marked earlier, that when the paper 1 is concluded, then the same teachers will continue to mark paper 2 when marking has commenced in general. But they will iron that question up. So I just wanted to highlight something to members here, that we know that since we live in a world of technology, we encounter so many other things which must not take us aback, must not surprise us, must not make us think that the legitimacy and the integrity of the examination is under siege or is challenged, because there will be social media fanatics and lunatics, or whatever way that you can call them. There's one that it took me aback. I thought it's real. When a lady comes out to say, I'm a principal of a school, and we discovered one learner copying English paper 3. And I asked myself, how can one learner copy English paper 3 when we have to write an essay? But it looks so real that you can think the person is a principal of a school. But you ask yourself, how can a principal, when you have discovered such an irregularity, instead of following the proper procedures, you take it to a social media? And I went to Dr. Polia fuming, of course, thinking that this is real, only to find that even the name of the school does not exist. The woman, I even went to her social media, and it's just a person who comments about everything in South Africa in a negative way. So, and it makes people, because when other people hear that, they will think that the integrity of the exam is compromised. So I just wanted to bring this to the attention of members, that some of the social media people are social media people. We can't change them, but the integrity of the examination is still intact. Day 1 was incident-free, except those rates that came after the learners have written. What might be a challenge, as Minister indicated, will be the CAT that is going to be written this week, and the contingency is there. It has always been there, a contingency plan for the CAT. Thank you, DG, and my apologies for that hiccup on my side. You can continue.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister. I'm just trying to check whether, I hope you can see that I'm not a robot. And the Minister can also see that I'm in the office and not by the roadside. Okay. Okay. Let me also maybe start thanking the Minister and DM. They've covered a number of questions, and also add my voice in congratulating Honorable Christians. I think we're also motivated to go back to school to upgrade our qualifications. The staff shortages, and thank you for the well wishes and for commending the department and Umalusi for the work done so far. Staff shortages are indeed also occasioned by budget cuts, the volatile fiscal environment that we find ourselves in. But how we've tried to deal with this is to identify people with experience in exams from other line functions such as curriculum, who regularly interact with the assessment environment, who are formally appointed to do this work, whose credibility is beyond reproach, and we get them to do this work. Honorable Christian also asked what's going to be the next step. The next step Wood marking will begin, of course, it will start with standardizing marking, which is coordinated by Department of Basic Education. Umalusi continuing with its quality assurance work, even during that process. And then after marking will be the capturing of marks. And then the qualitative inputs will then commence in terms of the sector, preparing for the standardization process until we go to standardization. And once standardization is done and the marks are ready, then Umalusi will make the determination of declaring exams to be, up to what is required in terms of integrity and credibility. So those will be the steps that are followed. And we try to communicate this through the proper channels every step of the way as we move from one step to the other. And I think it's the minister who said that, we could also include the chair of the committee in the reports that we generate, just to keep them up to date about every step of the process. And then the issue of accommodation and concession, the minister has eloquently articulated this and covered it. We do provide for learners with special education needs through accommodation and concession. And the meaning of that is that they are provided with the requisite materials such as enlarged print if they are short-sighted. They are also provided with the requisite equipment, as the minister said, including providing them with scribes, those who need scribe, and any other support that they require. We do make provision for that. When we even generate our results, we'll indicate how many require this and how many participated in the exams. The profiling of exams to ensure security, I think as an examination or the assessment body, we've been able to do that, to do an assessment of each and every exam center, being able to rank them, as Dr. Pulia demonstrated in the presentation, from high, medium to low risk, and then make a determination of measures that should be put in place to deal with such. But on the one hand, even before, this process, Umalusi has got its own process of assessing, centers for whether they could be accredited for, running exams and so on, which is their own process, which would precede the process that we have outlined in terms of our readiness. And then Honorable Shongwe, contingency plan. This is what I've outlined and what Dr. Pulia has outlined in instances where you don't have a full complement of the exam line function. You bring in people who are well-versed with the nitty-gritties of exams, who interact with those activities virtually on a daily basis. And I'm sure you'd all appreciate the fact that when it comes to the National Senior Certificate, virtually everything comes to stand still, and all the resources, including utility vehicles and so on, are directed to the administration of the National Senior Certificate. The human resources the same, to increase vigilance and monitoring of the National Senior Certificate. So the same applies to personnel. In instances where you don't have a full complement of the exam line function, we get in managers formally appointed from line functions such as the curriculum to carry out that responsibility. And this has worked so far. Ideally, would prefer to have a full complement of the exam line function. But as I've said, unfortunately, we operate within a context of a consolidated budget. Even if we have vacancies, even if you have unemployed educators out there, there is no money to employ them in government. And that's why even we've started talking about the impact of that in, appointing teachers for next year, 2025. So that's the real issue there. Support to educators and learners. Why is there a drop in term 2? I think what it shows, this presentation and the presentation before would have shown that every step of the way, beginning of the year, we started the support with learners and educators. I was part of the team that led this. We were all over the place. Maybe in future, we might have to, if the technology allows, take the geolocation of where we are so that people get to appreciate that it's not only in urban areas, but it is also in the rural areas to help to deal with the issue of balancing urban and rural. In fact, in the last 2 to 3 years, schools that are contributing mainly to the improvement of the system as schools in the rural areas, we've seen some decline in schools in the urban areas, including former Module C schools. That's why you'd see even in the pictures, we're starting to move into former Module C schools and some schools in the urban areas because there is that decline there. And the data that guides us throughout the year from Q1, Q2, Q3 also point as part of our intelligence to areas where we need to focus on. So there has been that support, but what I can tell you is that the cognitive rigor increases as you move up the curriculum coverage. Some learners, from Q1, you'd see that the performance is not as good as it should be. When you move to Q2, it gets slightly better. To Q3, actually, we got surprised because it shows that the impact is really beginning to be profound in terms of Q3, which shows that the support that is provided is beginning to work. And it's actually good because your Q3 exam, it's sort of a wake-up call exam for learners to get ready for Q4 for the final year exams. But we got pleasantly surprised with how learners have been able to rise to this occasion. And we do think that part of the reason for this is the coverage and some of the learners starting to get serious towards the end of the year. More and more learners were then covered by the support that we provide to them towards the end of the year. As the Deputy Minister said, it's differentiated approach. It starts from learners at risk, learners who are in the middle of the pack, who could do well but perform on an average grid, and even your top performing learners, because we also support them so that you get more distinctions to those who are doing well. So it is a differentiated approach which covers all categories of learners. I've explained that, Honorable Shongwe, in terms of, the issue of contingency plan, teachers who are unemployed, and the fact that term 2 is lower than term 3 and so on. But as you can see, term 2 lower than term 1 and term 3, it then means that as learners went on, they got much better or they were becoming more receptive to even support. Honorable Jordan, thank you very much for commending the department and Umalusi. Awareness to prevent infringement of learners. We tried to do that on Sunday during the press briefing, and I think our communication will strengthen that in our communication, that we continue to advise people against infringement, particularly on learners who would like to write exams things like service delivery protest. And we gave an example of particularly people in Soweto for Johannesburg West, where learners were insulated from service delivery protests, and they were protected, and just like it happened in the Jan Kemp, or like Dr. Pulia has indicated. So we'll increase that communication or heighten that communication to the public and everybody. Honorable Low, thank you for the appreciation for the work done by both Umalusi and DBE. And the decline in learner enrollment, well, overall, there's an increase. There is an increase overall. And the decline is actually experienced in what we call BCM subjects, business studies, the accounting, as well as economics. Those are the subjects that experience a major decline. We are addressing this with districts and provincial education departments. And we suspect that part of the reason is that historically those subjects, their cognitive demand has been very high, and it therefore scared many learners and parents away from the subjects. But those subjects have started to do well, as good as other subjects. We believe that we'll be able to get the learners back to participate in them. And the load reduction, we are in constant communication with ESCOM, and provincial education departments as well as district officials are also working with local municipalities in terms of load reduction. So far, we haven't experienced problem except for the unforeseen, which happened in Utinake, in the Gqeberha municipality, where you had storms that really put the power systems down overnight, and you couldn't also really expect the local municipality to be able to solve that problem within hours. Unfortunately, this couldn't happen because it happened just overnight because of the inclement weather. But thank you very much for the advice. The minister has already acknowledged and appreciated that of working with local municipalities. We'll definitely take that advice moving forward. We are trying to close the gap between rural and urban, but I've indicated the trend of now late that something is happening in the rural areas. Parents, broader civil society in these communities have become very serious about supporting and insulating learners, getting them to camp at school. I've gone through many of this, and I've really appreciated the way broader civil society act together in insulating and supporting learners to succeed. Honorable Mashabela, the minister has eloquently covered the notion of learners starting at 1.2 million and ending up at 700, 800,000. I must also indicate that I had requested the chair that at some point, Dr. Stephen Taylor can come and do a presentation grade by grade to look at the notion of dropout. But also the latest is that Professor Martin Gustafsson has been able to link some of the learners who go to TVET colleges, which means we know where these learners are. The biggest problem in the system is not dropout, but the biggest problem is failure and repetition rate, as the minister has eloquently addressed that. No system in the world would be as large as this one, would be able to record 100% throughput. It doesn't happen, especially a large and vast system as ours. You don't find it anywhere in the world. Honorable Chair, incidents of young matriculants who are pregnant. In our support to learners, I've come across many of these young women who are pregnant, and I appreciated the fact that schools allowed them to continue to benefit and they supported them. And our policy and our monitoring is to ensure that indeed they are supported and monitored. Some of the figures that Dr. Pulia presented this morning was one of these young people who had to go and get into the labor ward, and as a result of that, some measures had to be put in place to afford these learners to be able to write exams, even if they are in hospitals. That's our policy, and that's the support that is available, not only to pregnant young women, but also to young men who are in conflict with the law. We make provision for that. People who have just taken ill and been in hospitals, we provide that opportunity for them. They do get an invigilator and people who deliver papers to them so that they are able to write. The minister has covered the issue of the feeding scheme. It is indeed true. Feeding is continuing, and arrangements are made by schools to make sure that learners continue to receive feeding. The second chance matric program, as the minister indicated also, 727,121 are full-time candidates, 155,215 are part-time candidates. Those are the second chance matric program learners. We are not really happy with the performance of our part-time candidates. We're hoping that this time around, there will be some improvement. We've addressed that with districts and provincial officials that this is our unfinished business, and they must continue to get the support that even full-time candidates are getting. We're hoping that this time around their performance should be much better. Preparations for inclement weather, the minister has also eloquently addressed that, Deputy Minister. Maybe Dr. Mtembu and Dr. Pulia could cover any of the questions that we might have not covered, the three of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG. I think the questions were comprehensively covered, unless if there's any member who believes their question was not covered. I am really pressed for time. There is a sitting at 2, and we still have Umalusi to respond, and we still have to get the presentation from Western Cape. So I'm going to allow Umalusi to respond. And if there is any outstanding matter, honorable members, please share with us. We'll ask the department to respond in writing. We are just happy that at least for the first time they did send us written responses, and that's good.
And an avalanche of them, Chair. I'm saying an avalanche of written responses, close to 3,000.
Okay. Okay. Chair, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be brief. Firstly, let me thank all the portfolio committee members who raised questions for the acknowledgement of the very hard work that goes into preparation for these exams, and the sense that the system is getting more and more rigorous and better able to defend itself. Chair, all the questions that I noted that were directed at Umalusi are of an operational and technical nature that is outside of my level of competence in these matters. And so I'm going to hand over to the CEO to respond. Over to you, Dr. Rakometsi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Professor Berlin. I also want to appreciate all the commendations received from the honorable members. Indeed, the DBA and Umalusi take this huge responsibility seriously. We protect the examinations processes jealously in order to protect the currency of the qualifications that are on the sub-framework of Umalusi. Thank you very much, honorable members. Regarding the centers that are high risk, what Umalusi does is that we intensify our monitoring in terms of the deployment of the monitors to these centers with regular visits. And we also appreciate the fact that these high-risk centers, the DBE has deployed resident invigilators at these centers, and that is appreciated, so that there's somebody independent who's not in the employ of that school who sits there and checks that everything is done according to policy. So that's how we deal with the potential risk at the high-risk centers. Regarding the question that was raised by Honorable Low, indeed, we wrote to all the provincial education departments, and also we wrote to the DBE, Mr. Mweli, about the areas that still needed attention before the commencement of the examinations. And the DBE and the provincial education departments have come to the party to indicate how they are dealing with those issues and how they are closing those gaps. This is commendable, and we'll continue to pronounce on quality assurance processes, because this is what saves the system. We need checks and balances, and over the years, we have enjoyed the full cooperation of the Department of Basic Education in this regard, and that is truly appreciated. And that is on the question that was raised by Honorable Low. On the question that was raised by, I don't remember who it was, I think it was Honorable Low, yes, about the fairness of the system when it comes to urban rural areas. We ensure at the point of the setting of the papers and the moderation thereof that the questions are fair to the rural area students and the urban, so that there is no bias. There is no rural urban bias in the questions. And I know, I think the members know what I mean. Be a question that a learner from an urban center like Johannesburg would not be able to answer, because the question is in the rural setting in terms of what it is asking, and vice versa. So we make sure that that doesn't happen. And also, Honorable Low, when it comes to the marking and the fairness thereof, we in the marking guideline discussions, that is what we used to call in the olden days memorandum, is marking guidelines. We accommodate correct answers that may not necessarily be in the marking guideline. A student may come with a divergent view. It is accommodated within the parameters of that subject to say, this student did not say what is in the memo. However, what he or she says is correct. Also, in terms of the fairness of marking, we have verified the markers who have been appointed in terms of our audit processes, that only qualified and experienced markers are appointed. And at the point of marking, we deploy verifiers who go to different marking centers, and they meticulously look at the quality of the work that is done by the chief markers, senior markers, and markers. And where there is a problem in terms of the standard of marking, they intervene on the spot. They intervene on the spot. So that is very important. That is very important. Now, regarding also Honorable Low, the management of the examinations, we receive daily reports on how the examinations are proceeding. We scrutinize these, and where there are challenges, we assemble a team of the senior manager, Memory Madia, and my executive managers. And we sit around the table to say, here is a crisis. How do we deal with it? And we take the necessary steps to say, this is how this problem is going to be dealt with. In some instances where the problem seems to be too huge, I even engage with the DG directly. The DG is a telephone call away from me. We discuss how we are going to deal with the problem, and without compromising the standards of the examinations. And also, while Umalusi will be maintaining its independence in the process. Now, coming to the question raised by Honorable Maimela about the printing of statements of results. The statement of results are printed by the different provincial education departments at the time when the minister is announcing the results, so that on the strength of those statements of results, students are able to approach the different universities for admission, and the certificates will come much later. And I'll illustrate why the certificates will come much later in the year. First of all, at the time of the release printing of the statement, there may be students who want to view their scripts, and marks may still change, where they are able to point at areas where they have not been fairly treated. And also students ask for remarks. So at the point of the release of the results, the marks have not stabilized to the point where they could be included in the certificate. And then we wait for the department to do the mopping up. And then they submit the data sets to us. We quality assure those data sets, and if we're satisfied that they are correct in terms of what has been captured in them, we print the certificates. If you are not satisfied, we return them, and we point at the areas that are problematic, and then the necessary remedial measures are taken, and then the certificates, the data sets are brought back to us correct, then we issue the certificates. So that the printing of the certificates, strictly speaking, happens around March, April, depending on the turnaround time by the department. It all depends on how quickly they stabilize the data in terms of the remarks, the viewing, and they provide us with the data that is stable. Just a brief comment on what the Deputy Minister said about the false alarm on social media. I've been in exams with Dr. Polia for quite some time now, and we know that exam time is rumor time. There are people who want to just cause sensation, and we have to develop a thick skin and know how to deal with those as they arise, as and when they arise. I want to pause and check with Dr. Eva Suji, Executive Manager, and Memory Madi, Senior Manager, to check whether they don't have anything to add to what I have said with Professor Balim. Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks for the opportunity.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, CEO. We will not take additional responses. If members believe there's anything that is not responded to, please indicate so that we can ask a written response. We are now going to take the Department of Basic Education in the Western Cape. I am not sure if the team is already here. We did not receive information on the delegation. However, you are very much welcome. We are going to allow you to make your presentation. We've received your presentation pretty late yesterday. I don't understand why we've received it late. However, we went through the presentation. So we're going to ask you to give us the highlights of the presentation, but do expect that we are going to ask you questions based on our observations of the oversight visit which we did. And also safe to say, Mr. Brown, please clarify. There was additional information that we had requested the department to send us. I think we requested for this information last week already. Please, I'm just checking that you clarify if we've received that information. And your presentation also clarify as to why have we not received the information if we've not received it already. I know that there were specific issues that we wanted you to speak to us about, and they are going to form part of the deliberations today. To Umalusi, you are not totally forced to be in this meeting, but DBE is required to be in this meeting. So I'm going to allow the team from the Western Cape PD, and you can introduce the leader of the delegation, can introduce themselves. You're welcome. And they can then introduce the team. We really are going to give you 15 minutes to make a presentation. And 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes. And then we will then go into deliberations.
Chair. Chair.
Honorable Law?
I don't know. I went to the presentation and I want to clarify something here before that we get to know who's who here. Chair, in the presentation as they proceed, can the presenter and the presentation rectify something? There is no provincial minister in South Africa legally, so must be very clear about that. There are MECs here. Please. Must rectify that thing, because part of the pronouncement that I made out of the context of the national department is because the Western Cape wants to be the head of national and wants to preserve themselves as national. They must correct that thing. There's MEC, there's Minister of the National Department, period.
That is noted, Honorable Law. Of course, it also created some bit of confusion for me as well. It's the same confusion we kept getting when we were in the province head office and we could not tell which is head office because I felt we meant different things. It is a bit of a confusion. It creates a bit. I was a bit confused myself when I went through the presentation. However, I do want us to give to the department and the leader of the delegation, please, for our sake, because really it's confusing. We know minister to be Minister Kwahube and the deputy minister. It's a bit confusing. So please clarify that one. The leader of the delegation, you can take over and introduce the team.
Sorry, Chair. The unnamed device is mine. Would you please release Umalusi, because you might.
Yes. As I had said
Yes.
that Umalusi, I had mentioned that Umalusi, you don't have to be in this session. But DPE has to be in the session. So you are released, and thank you very much for your presentation and your responses. I'm going to allow the PD, but DG, I don't know why do you keep on interrupting? I really don't understand.
No, I just wanted to
raising
point
hand.
out that I've seen Mr. Alan Meyer for the Western Cape. He could
Oh,
probably
okay.
be the leader of the delegation. I wanted to advise you as such.
Oh, but I
Yeah.
get they are here. They are going to take the platform themselves. I understand you want to also introduce the PED, but we've given them the opportunity now. Is it Mr. Mayor?
I'm afraid even to confirm now. Yeah, it's Mr. Alan Meyer, because I was trying to assist the process, so I got wrapped around my knuckles when I'm trying to assist.
Mr. Mayor,
Alan Meyer.
Mr. Alan Mayor, the floor is yours.
Chairperson. It gives our delegation great pleasure to be able to address the committee on the impact of the fiscal emergency on education in the Western Cape, and of course respond to your queries. My name is in fact not Mr. Alan Mayer. My name is David Mania. I am the Minister responsible for education in the Western Cape. And just to clarify the confusion over titles, the Western Cape has its own constitution, and that explains why we use the term minister in our province. But I am entirely neutral between the term MEC and minister. Chairperson, I just wanted to raise an issue with you. We obviously will complete our presentation, which has been lodged with the committee in the prescribed time. We are a little concerned about time. Our department is set to appear before Provincial Treasury in a make or break budget session, which is part of our budget process in the province at 12:30. And we would, if possible, need to leave shortly after 12 o'clock so that we can present on the education budget to our provincial treasury, which of course is a very, very important meeting given what we are going to discuss this afternoon, which of course is the impact of the fiscal emergency. So I'm not sure, Chair, how we're obviously in the committee's hands. One option, of course, would be to efficiently utilize the time that we've got. Perhaps the committee would also consider a postponement, but of course we are in the committee's hands.
Mr. Mayor, you see, my difficulty is that now we've got 19 minutes, it means, and we've got a lot of questions and a lot of things to speak about. So that is not going to be adequate clearly. But you need to advise us, when do you have time? Because we wanted to meet you on Friday where we'll have time. You didn't, you said to us you're going somewhere else. We said to you, we are meeting you today. You are saying to us you are also going somewhere else. So when do you want to appear before us? Because it seems that we must ask you that.
Well, we obviously are happy to appear and obviously provide full and comprehensive responses to your questions. I mean, the committee itself was set to meet till 12 o'clock. We did put in 2 requests to the committee requesting that we be budget meeting, but that was not agreed to. But Chairperson, there should be no impediment. I'm sure that we can agree to a time so that we can give you a comprehensive briefing on, as I say, the impact of the fiscal emergency, which I really do think we need to have an in-depth discussion on. And we are, just to reassure you and members of the committee, preparing written replies to your letters on the 10th and 11th so that we can provide you with comprehensive replies, obviously, on the questions arising out of your oversight visit. So if the committee has a mind to postpone, I'm sure we can arrange to appear before the committee at an alternative date as soon as possible. And we will, in any event, be furnishing you with detailed replies to your questions arising out of your oversight visit.
Mr. Mina, so the issue of the teachers, the 2,407 teachers, it's an urgent matter. And, you know, now the department is appearing as if it is playing a duck and dive. Because as you were saying that we sent you a request for information on the 10th and 11th, we are today on the 20-something and you've not sent us that information. You're still saying to us you're going to send us that information. We had wanted to meet you on Friday. You said to us you're going somewhere else. I hope you understand that the matter of 2,400 and something teachers is an urgent matter to us. And we really need to deal with issues that we've observed during the oversight. Some of them can't wait because they involve learners, they involve learner transport, they involve a range of issues. So I do hope that you've got that comprehension. But I want to ask members, honorable members, what is your take? Because essentially we've got about 16 minutes, and I don't think 16 minutes is going to be adequate anyway. Honorable members, I'm going to be guided by your views on this one. Do we continue and press ourselves? What do we do? I see the hand of Honorable Jordan only. Honorable Jordan, yes. Honorable Law, you will follow.
Thank you, Chairperson. Even though I hear your concern, I'm aware that our meeting is also only scheduled from 9 to 12:30. So, and I know 12 o'clock is earlier than that, but I'm thinking that it might be difficult for us to be able to engage productively in any event if we do continue to only receive our presentation for 15 minutes.
The committee meeting, it's a standing rule. Committee meetings are scheduled from 9 to 12, but it has been a practice, members, and I don't think this is the first time. It has been a practice that at times would finish at 1, at times would finish at 1:30. depending on the discussions at the time. So we're hoping that we will do the same. So I was not worried about that, because in the previous meetings with the department, when we had a compounded issues, we used to do that. We would extend the time to 1, even when we had afternoon sittings, we would do that. So I was not worried about the issue of 12 o'clock, because I know that that's what we've done in the previous meeting, especially even when we had physical meetings. That's what we would usually do, so that we complete the agenda of the day. Honorable Law.
Thanks, Chair. We can't allow this to always happen to us when there are many excuses when we should have the department to present. Let's proceed. Let them deal with key focal areas, and then we'll pose our questions. They must make time. But we're not going to allow them to leave us and then tell us that they're going to present it somewhere in the treasury. They must account here, they're accountable here. That's why I'm confused about the minister, the MEC. The MEC must be accountable, present to us, let's pose questions, and then we'll deal with the time issues later. Thanks.
Honorable Govana, you're the last hand.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm partially covered by the previous MPs, but I will just add this report. Chair, it can never be correct that they are busy to account to us. Also, the time is against us, because we do not want them to present on basis of presenting. It should be a constructive one where we are able to engage and have clarities on things that we do not see right in the department. So the time won't do us any justice. So your proposal that they must give us time that they are available, I think that one I second, but also it should not be up to them. When we call them, they must be here full day to account to us, because we will not tolerate the disrespect that they continue giving us. It's improper and it's not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no any other hand.
Chair,
Honorable Mashabela.
Chair, because of the network problem, I think I was off. The issue of 2,400 teachers in the Western Cape, Chair, I think this is the problem which need to be addressed as soon as possible. So these people of Western Cape must stop playing with disrespecting the committee, please. I think even if we don't have time now, but they must take us through this issue of 2,400 teachers, please.
Was it Honorable? I thought DM wanted to get in.
Yes, Chair. My apologies. I want to get in, seeing that the time on their side, they say they have to leave at greetings to Honorable David Mania and the team from Western Cape. The rest who have greeted one another. I was saying, since they say at 12 they will leave and they are going to meet their provincial treasury, I think after that meeting with the provincial treasury chair, they will come back with a positive answer regarding the 2,400 teachers. I was going to humbly suggest that let's allow them, but let them give the committee the date that they will be available for the committee, because now it will be a presentation thereafter. Their time will be up. Let them go to the provincial treasury, put their story, get money to pay for those teachers that they say they are going to cut. Then they come and give the committee. We come back with them. We give a committee a better answer that what we'll say about the perceived or the anticipated cutting of the 2,400 posts, which I think will be addressed in this meeting today with the provincial treasury. Thank you, Chair. That's my submission.
Thank you, DM. Mr. MEC, you see, our attitude is based on your conduct during where the entire department decided to abscond the oversight visit. Our attitude is then that even today, or even as we have been trying to communicate with you, you have been trying to dodge us. And the attitude and our response is based on your own conduct when we came to do oversight, where you just decided you are not going to send anyone as a province. You are not even going to take that oversight serious. And that is our issue. However, honorable members, I do believe that this discussion that we must have with the department and the MEC, it's crucially important. And there is many issues that for me, I seriously need clarity from the department. And I don't think we'll do justice with this short period of time. We are going to meet you as a department next week, Tuesday. We were scheduled to meet all provinces next week, Tuesday. However, we had thought that because we need more time with yourself, it would be prudent for us to meet you in the Northern Cape on Friday. And the reason why we had actually wanted to go out of our scheduled date and create time, because we created time and you seemingly are not creating time. You are not interested in creating time. And that is part of the conduct that we are observing. We had created time to give you and the Northern Cape ample time to give us clarities on our observations. However, you decided that you are not available on Friday. And what makes me something that I really don't understand, that a whole department, a whole provincial department is not available on a day. Something that I really don't understand. I have no idea how that department of yours work, where we are told that one day, I'm actually waiting for that day where Minister and DM will tell us that, the whole department can't appear before the committee because the whole department is not there. Something that I really don't understand. We don't understand it. I just want to make it clear that we don't understand it. But we're meeting you on Tuesday, 9 o'clock, because honestly speaking, we're not going to do justice. And I agree with Honorable Law. It's really uncalled for that somehow, maybe it is because of that constitution that you're speaking about, where you believe that you are not accountable to this committee. And that's something that I think you should reconsider, because you are accountable to this committee of parliament. So we'll agree on a journey, and we are scheduling the meeting to next week, Tuesday. On Friday, honorable members, we are meeting the Northern Cape alone. The meeting is going to be in the afternoon. It is going to be virtual. It is just going to be, I think it can even be an hour meeting where we are going to speak to the Northern Cape about the observations. I do hope honorable members still have their notes. And then on Tuesday, we are going to try and see how we can relook at our agenda for Tuesday so that we can have the Western Cape starting on Tuesday. Mr. Main, I think you'll be fine on Tuesday. So we'll send a formal communique to invite you on Tuesday to our committee meeting the same time. And I do believe that the meeting of next week is physical, Mr. Brown. I think it is physical. So we'll meet you in Parliament on Tuesday next week. And formally communicate meeting at 12. We do hope that that meeting comes with positive results. First, can we agree to deal with our own reports in this little time that we've got remaining?
Thank you, Chair. You broke up for a second. Next Tuesday, I think will be absolutely fine. I do want to place it on record, however, that during your provincial oversight visits, the province was represented by a district director and ultimately
A
by
district director is a district director. The province is a provincial education department. Now, the district director kept telling us that they can't respond to certain questions because they are not at the provincial level. So that assertion of yours can't stand. We raised it even then, that stop saying that you were represented by the district, because there is a district level, there's a circuit. The DBE can't come and say to us they were represented by a province. Those are those are different levels of authority. And the authority that we seeked and we required was your provincial authority, because the issues that we were raising, we were told that they are handled at that level of authority. So you were not represented because we could not get answers.
Well,
you were not represented. You were not there.
we
You did not come. You were not
we
come. You did not come. You were not represented. Mr. Menya, you did not come. You were not represented. You decided to abscond. You decided that you're not going to take the committee very serious. So we've released you. We will have that. We will take up that discussion the following week.
I'm very happy to do that.
I'm sorry, you were saying something?
I don't really think it would be very productive to continue the conversation.
Release, you will take up, that discussion.
I want to place it on record. We were represented, and as far as this committee meeting is concerned, we were in contact with your committee secretary on 2 occasions to discuss time allocation. But I'm sure this is something that we can take up during the course of next week.
Yes, we'll take it up during the course of next week. You don't determine time allocations for us. We're a committee of parliament. We determine our own schedule and then we invite you. That's how it works. That's how it works. I think you should get that right. So we don't engage on time together. We determine there's a schedule. Even ourselves, there's certain levels where they schedule meetings, they schedule times, we follow. So that's how it works. So we'll meet you to abscond our oversight visit. You decide that you are not going to take us serious. We'll take up that discussion next week. And thank you for your time. And thank you to DBE for your time and the presentations. We'll meet on Friday. We'll communicate on the exact time that we're meeting the Northern Cape. The Northern Cape has been informed, I think, a week ago on this meeting on Friday. We will just inform and provide the login details to DBE and honorable members on time. You are released so that we can remain. Honorable members, I do hope that you went through the minutes. Mr. Brown, can we fly to the minutes? So the first set of the minutes is the minutes of the 15th, and it was a virtual meeting. These are the minutes of last week, honorable members. I do hope you've received the minutes in time. I did, and I want us to go through the minutes and adopt the minutes. Honorable members, is there anyone who wants to make corrections, additions on the minutes, or move for an adoption? I cannot see hands. Honorable Low.
No, thanks, Chair. The minutes I do reflection of our discussions and I've checked them and I went through them. I therefore adopt them.
Honorable Low is moving for the adoption of the minutes. Any seconder? I don't see any hand, members, any seconder, or are there any issues with the minutes?
Chair, can second, I was not present.
It's Honorable
Makakula.
Honorable Makakula, yes, you were not present. The members who were present, let me check can we check the Honorable Christians, Honorable Jordan, Honorable Mtsweni, and Honorable Nuba are not in the meeting. Honorable Mashabela, can we check the minutes and Honorable Yanga, Honorable Kovana?
Thank you, Chair. I'm struggling with my gadget. I don't want to raise an hand. I'm sorry. But I have read the meetings, the minutes of the meeting, Chair. I was present in the meeting, and true reflection, I move these meetings, Chair.
Okay. The minutes are duly adopted. The second set of minutes. So the second set of minutes is the 16th of October, also a virtual meeting. Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown, which minutes are these ones?
Chairperson, this is the minutes of the 16th, Wednesday, the 16th.
Oh, yes, the following day, last week, the following day, yes. Okay, yes. Okay, I have, yeah, okay. I see Honorable Governor's hand. Anyone who wants to speak on the minutes, any issues on the minutes? Honorable Governor?
No, Chair, it was the hand of the first minutes.
Okay, it's a legacy hand.
Yeah.
Okay, can we deal with the second set of minutes? Honorable members, we're dealing with the second set of minutes. And I want to check if there are any corrections, any issues with the minutes. Can we adopt these minutes?
Chair,
Honorable Law?
I have read the minutes. I move to adopt the minutes.
Noted. Honorable Governor?
This gadget. Chair, I stand to second Honorable Law. I've read the minutes. I second.
The minutes are adopted. I don't know what is wrong with your gadget. Maybe you must look at it. Now, we've got two outstanding reports. These are reports that we could not adopt in the last 2 meetings because of time. And we had said that members must go through these reports because they were actually given to us some time ago. And we need to adopt these reports so that we can process them. The first one is a report on the induction workshop for the committee with the Department of Education, the provincial departments. This is a meeting we had with all the PEDs and the statutory bodies and relevant stakeholders. We had this meeting physically, this workshop physically in Parliament. We had it from the 20th to the 22nd of August. Now, this report was sent to us timelessly, members. I do hope that you've went through it and you are ready to adopt this report. Any corrections, any issue on the report? Mr. Brown, from me, it's just to say, let's look at some issues, just small issues of grammar in other areas, but the content of the report, it's for me, it's not in question. It's just an issue of grammar in some areas and it's just spelling. So it's really just makeup issues. It's not content issues. Any member who wants to adopt the report, the draft report? Honorable members, I don't understand what the silence is, but maybe you should advise me what the silence is about. Is the silence saying that we don't agree with the contents of the report, or we don't agree with this report, or is the silence saying we can't adopt the report because there are issues in the report? Perhaps advise me, because I don't understand, because this is our report and I really don't understand the silence. Honorable Law.
No, thanks, Chair. I move to adopt the report with recommendations that are clear so that we are able to proceed with it. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want us to go through the recommendations, or are you saying the recommendations in the report currently are clear?
Saying I adopted what clear recommendations that are given to the report as of the portfolio committee. They represent a true reflection on non-CUDEF immunity from our engagement.
Okay, that's clarified. Honorable Yanga.
Thanks, Chair. Let me first apologize. I think it's not deliberate that we're not responding to you, especially from my side. My gadget is in opposition of myself today. It's actually not allowing me to contribute. But with the recommendations that the draft comes with, I second Honorable Law that we adopt it and move on with it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The report is duly adopted. The last report is on the first quarterly report on the performance of the Department of Basic Education, which was presented to us. I think it was presented on the 17th of September. Was it on the 17th of September, Mr. Brown? When was this presented to us? The first quarterly report. Mr. Brown?
Chairperson, yes, it was on the 17th of September. You are correct.
Okay, can we go to the recommendation on the first quarter report? I myself went through the report and I'm fine with the content. I just want us to ensure that we are on the same page on the recommendations that we've made. So there is recommendations and there is observations of the committee at the bottom of the report. And like I'm saying, these reports have been sent to us some time ago. We could not adopt them in the last two meetings because of time. So I actually believe that I hoped that members had went through them and our discussions today would be very swift because we had went through these reports. However, I want to check if there are any issues, any comments on the report, any corrections. Okay, I'm going to note hands that wants to adopt this report. Honorable Law.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would have read the report. It presents all the discussions and the decision and recommendations. I therefore move for the adoption of the report.
Noted. Any seconder to the adoption of the report? Any seconder? Okay, are we saying we're not adopting this report?
Chair?
Yes, Honorable Governor.
I have raised my hand. Now, Chair, we are adopting the draft report with its recommendation. I second Tsapolo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The report is adopted. The reports are adopted. There was last report that was outstanding. Mr. Brown, I think moving forward, we should really ensure that every meeting we deal with the drafting of reports timelessly. One would start with the oversight report. We're still waiting for that report, and I hope I was hoping that the team would be concluded with that report. We need it so that we don't have many reports that we have to adopt in one single meeting. We have to really try and deal with our reports, draft our reports timelessly, so that the next meeting we deal with the report when the issues are still fresh in our minds. Now, with that said, this brings us to the end of our agenda today. Honorable members, thank you very much for your time. I do want honorable members to indicate and to share with Mr. Brown if they are unable to join us for the meeting of Friday, so that we can take a decision, because we don't want to convene that meeting and we don't have a quorum. So we need to, you need to inform Mr. Brown if you're unable to join us virtually on Friday. The meeting is going to be in the afternoon. We'll look at the schedule of Parliament and see in terms of the afternoon exactly what time do we have the virtual session. It will be a brief meeting with the Northern Cape PED on the observations of the committee during the oversight visit. There were issues that we believed that the department ought to intervene, and they must intervene urgently. And given the fact that they also did not attend our meeting, they decided also to abscond our oversight. It is something that we would have to raise with them. With that said, thank you very much, honorable members, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.